Yeah, so my initial plan was to make this into like a really nice video with good production and music and whatnot. But then I just thought, who gives a shit? So I decided not to. But before I did get into it, I just want to say that this is probably for experienced players, and I'm not going to explain every little component required to achieve this effect. For example, you need to use Move It clearly. So if you don't know what that is or how to use it, you're just going to get frustrated and confused. And if that's the case, you can leave, and I'll see you next time. Bye. Yeah, so one of the biggest flaws in this game is that there's no way to lower a curb to street level so a car can access a driveway or a parking lot, which I think is called an apron in real life, but I'm not sure. And I hate that. So a long time ago, I found a couple ways to create an illusion that there's a ramp there instead of a curb. And ideally, this video should help the 95% of people who submit Cities Skylines content and don't seem to care about this and just put things like parking spaces on top of the sidewalk. Meaning if someone wanted to park there, they'd literally have to drive into the curb, which looks stupid as hell. So maybe this can teach you a thing or two. It's not that genius of an idea because I'll tell you now, Bad Ideas Path Network has been able to achieve this effect since it came out years ago. But the problem with that network is that I don't know anyone that can use it without reloading the save and finding it glitching like 7 miles into the terrain underground. And I don't got time for that anymore. So this is how I do it now. Bad Ideas Path, great asset. It works sometimes, but for the other times, I want to stab myself. So I'd rather do it this slow and careful, meticulous way. Now, you can just take a plain street and draw it from the road up into the parking lot, which is something I do all the time when I can get away with it. But the issue is that on a big road like this, it creates a gap in the median, which is fixable, but sometimes it's just way too much effort. So the shortcut I take to create a ramp is I'll take a pavement slope, which I will link in the description. The 3:1 size usually works the best, and I'll draw it around the edges of the main road. This is already such an exciting video, isn't it? With all the gaps and the silences and no music. Full of energy and charisma. Don't forget to like and subscribe, guys. Yeah. Thumbs up. Fuck yeah. Anyway, as you can see, this is pretty much already done. We have what looks like a plausible ramp going from the main road up into the parking lot. There's some issues with it, which we'll get into in a second. But the finishing touch I always have to put on is that I'll take the end pieces of the network and I'll also draw that into the sidewalk because the network, it's hollow. If you look at it from those end pieces, you'll see a gap underneath. So doing it this way completely mitigates that. Ideally, you draw the network in the correct direction, which I will now fix. Look how beautiful and perfect this is already. Full disclosure, this video is a terrible example of how this is done because normally it's not this quick. Normally it takes me a few minutes to pull off because unless the road and the terrain is completely flat and level, it's a pain in the ass to do. I just happen to get very lucky right now. Now, what you see here is probably the most common problem you'll face. I've had to manually do it because it works so well from the beginning, which is remarkable. But well, look at that beautiful city in the background. Wow, that's another story. But depending on the size of the slope and the height of the curb, you'll have gaps on the inside of the network like this. So the way to fix it is you just take the same network and just draw it on the opposite side from the other direction to cover it up. But the thing is, this is now where the flaws begin to show because this method it's not visually perfect. Depending on the lighting, you can now see what's clearly an enormous bump on the curb instead of a ramp. Sometimes it's obvious, sometimes it isn't. You can use your own discretion to figure out what's tolerable for you. See that? It looks weird. Now, if you are the type of person that is not fixated on fine street-level details, this is most likely a non-issue for you. But for me, it looks too goddamn stupid to ignore. It looks almost worse than a plain curb, because now if someone were to drive into this, they'd demolish the front bumper of their car, which would then result in probably thousands of dollars in bodywork. And this is just a game, that won't happen, but visually it's implausible, and I don't like it. So if it goes that far, I would rather just prefer to scrap the idea altogether. Now, you can upgrade the slope to a different size like I've done here, but it usually doesn't work unless your issue lies with the terrain elevation or the height of the road. In this case, I think it actually looks worse because while the slope might be lower and more in line with the curb, the shadow is far more pronounced and it's more obvious. There is another faster method I use with Ronix 69's curb surfaces when the slopes don't work out or I want to create an apron quickly. I've actually been using these for this purpose for like 2 or 3 years now. And these are not intended to be used this way. And as far as I can tell, the only way it somewhat works is because the textures are glitched. Look how crazy this road is, by the way. It's so dangerous. And the same guy in the same outfit keeps crossing in the most suicidal way possible. This is supposed to be like a suburban avenue. And look at these cars. Look how fat. Look at that guy. Fucking insane. I think the guy comes back a third time. There he is. There he is. I remember now. I recorded this days ago. I think he gets hit by a car too. I think like a utility truck takes him out. I can't remember. Oh, here it is. Yeah. Ooh, Blazer gets him. Blazer took his ass out, but he's still standing. Jaywalking is dangerous. Do not do it. But to get back on track, these will be linked in the description too. They have like a glitchy outer edge, which is why I never use them as intended. You're supposed to create like surfaces around buildings out of them, like on top of parking lots, but it just doesn't look right to me. But I did discover a while back that if you sink it into an actual curb, it creates an optical illusion that looks like an apron. Similar to the slope profiles, though, in fact, even more so, the road has to be completely flat for this to work because these are surfaces. We don't have any control over the nodes. We can't raise or lower one end. So the flatter it is, the better. And also the lighting has to be on your side. Now, with these ones, no matter what way you look at them, if you look close enough, depending on your brightness settings, you can definitely tell something is there. You can tell it's not a true apron. However, to me, even though I'm an uptight prick about shit like this, I think it looks passable. I'm a fan. It's very quiet. See, I think that looks good. I don't have much of a problem with that. But, like I said, the lighting has to be on your side because now you can see it's actually casting a shadow. It's never going to be flawless. It's going to be far from perfect. But compared to driving into a fucking curb, I'm into this idea. I like it a lot more. One thing you can do with these to help blend them in, and you could do these with the slopes too. In fact, I should have showed this earlier in the video, but I ain't got time to redo that shit right now. You can increase the brightness levels of the road to be closer to the pavement, so it sort of blends in with the surfaces around it. And it's still going to cast a shadow. It's still going to be seen, like no matter what you can do, it's always going to be seen, but it makes a little bit more effort to conceal it into the other textures. I'd love to put on some cheery stock music and say, yeah, subscribe to my channel. But, the likelihood of me doing jack shit with it is extremely minimal. I've had it for like a year now and I've hardly touched it. You never know. I might pull some more things out. I am working on another video about power lines, but at this stage, I don't know if it's going to come out. If you did like the video, go ahead. Hit the thumbs up button, guys. Stroke my ego. And if you didn't like it, you can burn in hell.